Surely the most popular archaeological programme on TV is Time Team. The programme has been running now for about 14 years and finally came to Warrington. The full Time Team crew were on site in a farmer's field for 3 days at a cost of £300,000. The reason for the visit was to research the many and varied findings of Radio General's regular archaeological presenter James Balme. James has been on the Saturday morning slot with me, Jim Jefferies, for approaching 2 years now, bringing some of his strange and wonderful finds with him to the studio. Time Team came to a field on the outskirts of Lymm to check it all out. James Balme was there, so was Radio General, to see what makes Time Team tick.
There I was, digging his hole in the ground, so big and sort of round it was, and there was I, digging it deep. It was flat at the bottom and the sides were steep. When along comes this bloke in a bowler, which he lifted and scratched his head. Whoa, he looked down the hole, poor demented soul, and he said, "Do you mind if I make a suggestion? Don't dig it there, dig it elsewhere. You're digging it round and it ought to be square. The shape of it's wrong, it's much too long, and you can't put a hole where a hole don't belong." I ask, what a liberty, eh? Nearly backed him right in the bowler.
So here we are in a field just on the borders between Trafford and Warrington. James Balme, is that right?
That's right, we're right on the borderline, the Cheshire borderline almost. We're just in Trafford by half a mile.
So we're just, beginning, where are we? The beginning of September. Yeah. It's a typical September morning. The sun hasn't quite bothered today, but it's nearly there above the clouds. And you've ruined a perfectly good farmer's field. How do you explain that?
We've actually trashed it, haven't we? Completely trashed it. All in the interest of science and archaeology. We're trying to find out what's going on here at the site. We suspect that there's a Roman fort here, and the 3-day dig is basically to try and confirm or disconfirm, as you may say, that it's actually here.
The 3-day dig, of course, being the preparation and all of the work that goes into making an episode of that very, very well-known and loved programme, Time Team, that will be on TV shortly.
That's right. It goes out in the new series starting January. We don't know which week yet, but it could be any time between January and March.
Richard, this is your field, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Are you happy for all this to go on?
Oh, I'm loving it, yes.
Making a bit of a mess of it here, aren't they?
Oh, it's nice sandy soil. We'll push it all back in the hole and it'll be great tomorrow.
What were you growing?
Field beans on here. They grind them up for cattle feed.
How long have you farmed here?
I've farmed here all my life, 43 years now.
Did you know what you were on top of, what you had underneath your crops?
No, 20 years ago I found one of the quernstones, and then we keep finding a little bit more each year, but never quite sure what we'll find next.
Where's this going to lead to, do you think? Can you see crowds of people coming to visit your fields and see what there are? Is it going to go like that?
Unless we find something very big and quite important, I can't see anybody really wanting to come and look at different coloured holes, I'm afraid, as much as I'd love to find a fort here. But we're always welcome for local organisations to come and have a look with what we've got.
What do you farm? How big is your farm, and what do you sort of focus in on?
We're really about 200 acres, but basically potatoes and vegetables and a little bit of grass are, what we mainly do.
I think perhaps most people imagine a farmer's life as starting at about 5 o'clock in the morning and going on until the sun goes down. Is it as hard as that?
No, certainly not for us. We've no cattle to look after. Much more office hours, although when the season's there and you need to work, you've got to put the hours in when you need to.
Do you find the Time Team thing quite interesting? Is it personally of an interest to you, all that's going on here in your fields?
Oh, fascinating. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I've always enjoyed watching Time Team, and to be able to see how the programme's set up and the backroom staff, it's a dream come true, really.
So your field at the minute is full that they've dug a lot of trenches in it. That's all going to go back for you then, as you say. You've not got a problem with that?
Oh no, that'll go back tomorrow or Friday. You'll not know they've been on here in another week.
Well, there was I, stood in me shoveling earth. For all that I was worth, I was, and there was him, standing up there so grand and official with his nose in the air. So I gave him.
Modern field archaeologist with reputation second to none. Don't read my notes. Is that you?
Oh, I don't know, it doesn't sound like me.
Dr. Francis Pryor, MBE, writer of books, Britain BC and Britain AD, yeah? A couple of them, 4 books you've written, is that right?
4, yeah, last one's about the Middle Ages, actually. So, yeah.
Also, a working farmer, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah, I've got a small sheep farm. I got 120 ewes or something like that.
So which came first, archaeology or farming?
Well, farming when I was a lad, then archaeology when I was a student and afterwards when I went into the profession. And then about 20 years ago I found that I sort of, the soil was in my blood and I took to farming again.
Middle Ages is a period you specialise in, I believe. Is that correct?
No, I've just written a book on it from a position of extreme ignorance. The actual period I specialise in is the Bronze Age and the Neolithic, which is the New Stone Age. So when farming arrived, and that's why I'm interested in farming, because the Neolithic is when the first farmers got here. And that's a period that absolutely fascinates me.
Would it be correct to say that apart from digging like you are here today and finding new bits and pieces, everything's known now about how life was in those days and it's all regulated and put down and there's nothing else to learn?
No, nothing could be further from the truth. I should think if we know 10% about life in the past, in the remote past in prehistory, I should think we're doing well. Maybe it's only 5%. There's a vast amount to be discovered.
Will we find it?
Yeah, it's not so much a matter of finding it, it's also a matter of thinking about it and understanding what it is that we know already. There's an awful lot of facts in archaeology and not an awful lot of people trying to join the facts up to make a story. And that's what I try to do, to make a story.
Is it a big jigsaw puzzle?
Yeah, it's a very strange one. In a way, it's a white jigsaw puzzle. So it's a jigsaw puzzle where it's hard to see the patterns. You can fit the pieces together, but you can't see a picture when you put the pieces together.
They're all upside down.
Yes, you could be looking from the back.
Tell us a bit about Flag Fen in Peterborough. You've got an interest there, I believe.
Yeah, yes, I was lucky enough to find it back in 1982. And it's probably the best preserved late Bronze Age site in Northern Europe. We've got 60,000 timbers which survive about 6-8 foot long, 2.5 meters long, something like that in modern English. Planks, pottery, swords, daggers, spears, bodies, bones, you name it, we got it.
What do you do with the bodies as a matter of interest? Do they get a proper burial or how do you handle that? What happens there?
Usually they're loose bone. And the thing is, you say get a proper burial, but we don't know what Bronze Age funerary rites were. And I'm certainly not going to give them a Christian burial. They wouldn't like that at all, I shouldn't think. So the answer is you treat bones and human remains with great respect. And I think, you can be reasonably sure that if you treat them that way, they'd be happy with it.
Perhaps the best known archaeological site in England for people that aren't particularly interested in archaeology is Stonehenge. You have an interest there, I believe.
Oh, well, every archaeologist who does pre-Roman Britain's got an interest in Stonehenge. There's been some really big breakthroughs lately. Some excavations actually taking place now and last year at a place called Warrington Walls, just outside Stonehenge. Another henge monument, this time much bigger, but with outstanding stones. Is really revealing that the landscape around Stonehenge was a sort of theatre of religion on a vast scale. People were travelling on sort of pilgrimages for miles within this landscape. It's absolutely fascinating and is showing us that people around 2000 BC were enormously sophisticated.
How's it going here today?
This turned out to be, we thought it was going to be a complete disaster. And subsequently, because we kept our nerve, it's starting to make sense. But I think you'll have to see the television programme to see how it makes sense. And what's going to happen today is going to be fairly critical. I mean, we were out here fairly early this morning doing some new work in a new field. And I think that's going to produce some answers. But we've already produced some important answers in the first field that we did on day 2.
So a lot of work to do today, yeah?
Oh, yeah, plenty to do.